Thank you. Good evening, members. Welcome to this digital meeting of Council being held via Microsoft Teams on Tuesday, the 19th of January 2021, and a Happy New Year. Before we start this evening's meeting, it is with sadness that I advise Council that since our last meeting, Councillor John Roberts lost his partner Menna, and unfortunately Joy Thomas, PA to the Civic Office, also lost her husband Wayne. Our thoughts are with them and their families, and I would ask Council to join me now in a minute's silence. Thank you, members. Mrs. Harry, can I ask you to confirm the proceedings for the meeting, please?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor, and Noswetha Cyngor. Good evening, members. Members, we will not be live streaming this evening's meeting. However, it will be recorded and made available to view via the Council's website, except for discussions involving confidential or exempt items. Therefore, the images, audio of those individuals present and or speaking will be publicly available to all via the recording on the Council's website at www.caerphilly.gov.uk. If members lose connection during the live meeting, please make every attempt to reconnect. However, the meeting will continue as long as it remains quorate. Democratic Services staff are available and will be able to assist you to reconnect if required. I wish to also remind everyone that the Mayor has the discretion to terminate or suspend recording if, in her opinion, continuing to do so would prejudice the proceedings or that continued recording might infringe the rights of the individual. The Mayor also has the right to remove persons from the remote meeting if that is deemed necessary. In preparation for the meeting, all members should have already checked their headphones, microphones and IT equipment before the meeting commenced. I wish to also remind members and officers to ensure that all microphones have been muted. Group leaders, deputy leaders, cabinet members and key officers have been asked to leave their cameras on. All other members and officers, please can I ask that you turn your cameras off unless making representations. Members will need to unmute their microphones and turn on their cameras when called to speak by the Mayor. Votes this evening will be taken using Microsoft Forms, and when a vote is required, the monitoring officer will direct members to open Show Conversation, where the form will appear, and then click on Yes, No, Abstain, and then click on Submit Vote. The names and votes cast will be recorded and published to our website following the meeting. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mrs. Harry. Apologies for absence. As detailed within the meeting conversation, the chat, if members are aware of any apologies not listed, please add them to the chat or notify Democratic Services. Thank you. Mayor's announcements. I was delighted to attend a banner unveiling ceremony at Caerphilly Castle, where Caerphilly was recognised as an honorary Quidditch town, where we were presented with a decorative banner emblazoned with the team's town. I said that wrong, sorry. With the town's team's colours. Unfortunately, I didn't get to meet Harry Potter, but I was accompanied by two local primary school children who are avid and enthusiastic fans. I was also thrilled to accompany Councillor Shane Cook to record a video about Operation Santa, which again has been an outstanding success this year, and I offer a huge thank you to everyone who supported it. And finally, congratulations to Gerwyn Price of Markham, who has won the 2021 PDC World Darts Championship, becoming the first ever Welshman to achieve this. This victory also saw him become the world #1. On to item number 3, to receive petitions under the rule of procedure. There are no petitions this evening. Number 4, presentations of awards. We have one presentation to make this evening. Can I please ask Stephen Pugh and the communications team to please put on their cameras, and Councillor Colin Gordon to introduce the award.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to take this opportunity for Council to recognise and congratulate the communications team for scooping a major national award at the recent Public Service Communications Excellence Awards. The team won the prestigious Gold Award for the impressive work they have been doing to promote and encourage take-up of our free school meal service since the start of lockdown. Their work has resulted in national exposure for the Council, and this has led to universal praise for the way we've been providing free school meals over recent months. They beat off stiff competition from councils and government agencies across the UK and have really helped put Caerphilly on the map. This is yet another major award for the team, and I'm sure all members would wish to join me in congratulating Steve Pugh, Serena Ford and their colleagues for this outstanding achievement. Thank you. Madam Mayor, I see Steve is there. Would you like to just say a few words for his team?
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Gordon, for those kind words. We are joined by my colleague Serena Ford on the call as well this evening. But I think, on behalf of the whole team, we've been delighted to receive such a prestigious national award. Fantastic for us as a team. But, the recognition is also for the authority, and in particular the free school meal service, because, our work is made much easier when we are promoting a fantastic service and a fantastic product like the free school meals provision. So, yeah, recognition for us as a team, for us as an authority, and a real Team Caerphilly effort. So something we're very proud of. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Steve. On to item 5, declarations of interest. Councillors and officers are reminded of their personal responsibility to declare any personal and/or prejudicial interests in respect of any item of business on this agenda in accordance with the Local Government Act 2000, the Council's Constitution and the Code of Conduct for both councillors and officers. Members, please use the hands up function to indicate if you have any such declarations. Councillor Brenda Miles, please.
Thank you, Chair. Can I just note a personal interest in agenda item 12, which relates to the strategic planning for the provision of primary construction aggregates in the Caerphilly and the Cardiff City sub-region. The interest that I got, it only relates to a relative who's got a financial interest in a stone quarry, which is not in Caerphilly, but is within the Cardiff City sub-region. So I'm declaring a personal interest, but not a prejudicial interest, since it's fairly remote. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Miles. And Mr. Chanter, do you need to say anything there?
No, that's fine, thank you, Madam Mayor. I've discussed the matter with Councillor Miles this morning, and I'm happy with her declaration. As in all declarations, these are matters for the individual member, but I'm happy of the actions that Councillor Miles took. So thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chanter.
Your microphone is off, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I must have double clicked it. Sorry about that. Okay, on to item 6, to approve and sign the following minutes. Members, we will take minutes one at a time for accuracy, and then I will ask someone to move and second them as a true account. So we will start with the council held on 17th of November 2020 for accuracy. Starting on page 1. Page 2.
Sorry, Chair. Councillor Fussell.
Oh, thank you, Councillor Fussell.
It's just to note that I was not in attendance. I seem to have been noted in attendance as far as the minutes are concerned on the 17th of November. I think there might have been a standing apology in given my little heart flutter back in September. Thank you.
Thank you. So that was page 1. Page 2. Councillor Fussell, oh, your hand's gone down. Okay, page 3. Page 4. And page 5. Okay.
Madam Mayor.
Sorry.
Second that.
Thank you. And we move on to the council held on the 24th of November 2020. So those minutes start on page 7, page 8, and page 9. Councillors, are you prepared to move and second both minutes?
Move, Madam Mayor.
Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Okay, having moved and seconded, the debate is in order. Can we ask Mr. Tranter to take us to the vote, please?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. So, members, you are voting on just the accuracy of the minutes, the 2 sets of minutes that you have before you. There is a poll now coming up on your screen, so if you can vote accordingly, that will be very helpful. So don't forget, you either vote yes, no, or abstain, then press the submit button, please. It will be in the middle of your screen. Thank you. There we are, members. Thanks for that. 55 members for, 1 abstention, interestingly. And so there we are. The the minutes are approved for accuracy. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Chair, the abstention was mine as I wasn't at the meeting.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Councillor Solaris, you've got your hand up, please.
Just to inform you, Madam Mayor, nothing appeared on my screen and I didn't vote, so I don't know what's going to happen in future votes.
Councillor Harding, have you had the same problem?
Exactly the same. It just hasn't come up. I'll keep trying.
Yeah.
Keep back and forth.
Okay, so both members then, are you happy with the accuracy of the both sets of minutes?
Yes.
Perfectly happy.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll record you as that for that fact. If it's not coming up on the middle of your screen, it could be coming up in chat. Remember, that's the little conversation bubble. If you go in there, you may get the voting poll there. But if there are any problems, members, with voting, please raise your voice and we will record how you wish to vote on each vote. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
I tried chat as well. Nothing appeared there either, Madam Mayor. Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Sorrells.
The same with me.
Thank you. So on to item 8, is to receive and to answer questions received under the Rule of Procedure 10.5. It's a question to the Cabinet Member for Learning and Achievement, Councillor Ross Whiting, from Councillor Kevin Etheridge. Councillor Etheridge, can you please read out your question as detailed on the agenda? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There's a typo in the first sentence. It should be live lesson, not life lesson. So the question is, it is now 10 months into the pandemic. How confident are you that our education live lesson learning, the blending learning initiative across the county borough, is providing equal opportunities, no inequalities, engagement, staff support and access for all our pupils in Caerphilly, with all schools, and the engagement of pupils in the process? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Etheridge. Councillor Whiting, can we have your response, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I may thank Councillor Etheridge for his important question. This pandemic has been a huge challenge for our schools, and I'd like to start by thanking all of our school staff and education professionals for the incredible work they've done in responding to this pandemic, and for their commitment to identifying and meeting the diverse range of our learners' needs. While there has been some facilitation of live online learning where appropriate, high quality learning will depend upon matching the provision to the diverse needs of the child or young person. One size does not fit all, and it's important for schools to employ a broad range of techniques and tools, just as they do in the classroom. To meet this challenge, schools have been actively developing their learning offer and investing in appropriate professional learning and training for teachers, in addition to the right resources, to ensure the highest possible impact for pupils. Weekly meetings are held between head teachers, the local authority, and the Education Achievement Service to identify priority areas for support. A working group has also been established to support the provision and use of technology in remote learning. The local authority and the EAS have worked with schools to support this development with several key investments. For example, we've installed publicly available Wi-Fi across our schools, improved internet connections in classrooms, and upgraded broadband connection speeds to ensure that blended and distance learning materials can be accessed on-site under supervision, such as is currently the case with vulnerable and key worker children. The Stay Safe, Stay Learning initiative to upgrade devices for use by digitally excluded learners, as well as providing hundreds of free-to-use MiFi devices for those without home broadband. The distribution of over 1,300 devices to secondary schools in the autumn to help pupils access and engage in online learning, and the procurement of around 7,700 Chromebooks through the EdTech programme, which are now available to schools to boost access, and funding of £300,000 to secondary schools so they can purchase core textbooks and revision guides for our 4,000 Key Stage 4 learners. The EAS have also published a detailed guide to blended learning on their website, which sets out the wide range of tools and techniques that schools can deploy, and have helped share examples of good practice. They've also developed a dedicated support website and blended learning toolkit for parents and carers. In September, they held a seminar on blended learning for Education Scrutiny Committee members, and this could be rerun for all elected members if this would be helpful. In short, I'm confident that these actions being taken by our schools, the EAS and our expert education staff have promoted continuity, parity and equality of learning for our pupils through this difficult time. That being said, if a parent or carer has concern about the provision their child is receiving, It's important that those concerns are shared and discussed in the most appropriate place, the individual school, in the first instance. Although there are no follow-up questions to Cabinet members, if Councillor Etheridge has any further questions, he's welcome to contact me in writing at any time. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Whiting. Moving on to item 9, the Council Tax Reduction Scheme 2021 to 2022.
Madam Mayor, I put my hand up.
Sorry, I was on mute. I do apologise, Councillor Mann, I missed that.
Yeah, it only, first of all, apologies for being a couple of minutes late, problems in getting in. It's, could the answer be circulated as soon as possible after the meeting? You recall that we used to have them in writing when we were having the physical meetings, if that's the right word for it.
Councillor Whiting, you want to come back to that?
Yeah, I'm more than happy to circulate the answer to all members following the meeting.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Item 9, the Council Tax Reduction Scheme 2021 to 2022. Councillor Eluned Stennor, can you introduce the report, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The report before you this evening seeks Council's approval of the Council Tax Reduction Scheme for the 21-22 financial year. The report recommends continuing to operate a Council Tax Reduction Scheme for 21-22 on the same basis as the scheme used in the 2021 financial year. The recommendation is shown at 3.1 of the report that the current Council Tax Reduction Scheme should continue for the 21-22 financial year, along with the previously agreed local discretions. The reason for the recommendation is that Council is required annually to adopt a Council Tax Reduction Scheme and local discretions. I move.
Thank you, Councillor Stennor. I understand that Councillor Mike Adams will second.
That's correct, Madam Mayor. Thanks for calling me. And following Eluned's introduction to the presentation of the report this evening, I'm very happy to formally second that on behalf of the Council, and to continue the support that many residents in the County Borough have received from us for a number of years now. And long may it continue as long as it's needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Having been moved and seconded, the debate is now in order. Members, if you have any comments, please indicate now using the hands up button. Please turn your camera and microphone on when called, and lower your hand again by clicking on the hands up button when you are finished making your representations. Thank you, members. Okay, there doesn't appear to be anybody want to make any comments, so I will hand over to Mr. Tranter for the vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Okay, members, it's time to vote. You will have 90 seconds to give your vote on the Council Tax Reduction Scheme for the next financial year. The vote opens now. Thank you. Okay, thank you, members. 57 members voted, and it was unanimously decided to approve the Council Reduction Scheme. Did any members have any problems voting? If they did, do you want to tell me now how you wish to vote? Councillor Sorrells.
Yeah, I'm happy to support it, Mr. Tranter. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other members?
Same with me, Councillor Harding, but my hand don't raise either. I support it.
Thank you, Councillor Harding. Your vote will be noted. Thank you. Thank you. There we are, Madam Mayor. The report is approved. Thank you.
Councillor Jones, you've got your hand raised. Can we help?
I was just going to say that I support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Okay, we move on to item 10. This is the second replacement Caerphilly County Borough Local Development Plan up to 2035. It's the draft delivery agreement. Councillor Sean Morgan, can you introduce the report, please?
Certainly. Thank you, thank you, Madam Mayor. This report is simply seeking council approval to go out and consult on the draft delivery agreement for the second replacement Caerphilly Borough Local Development Plan up to 2035. The council resolved to commence the full revision of the local development plan at the council meeting held on 23rd of October back in 2019. The first stage in the preparation of this plan, which will run up until 2035, is to prepare a delivery agreement, which includes the timetable for the delivery of the new local development plan and the community involvement strategy, which sets out who we will consult with and when we will consult with them. The draft delivery agreement is required to be the subject of consultation, and members may recall that Council gave approval to consult on the delivery agreement for 6 weeks, starting in March of last year. However, due to the unprecedented circumstances brought about the pandemic, the consultation was cancelled. So a revised draft delivery agreement has now been produced. To reflect recent COVID-19 restrictions, it's proposed to publish the consultation for 9 weeks rather than the original 6. This will allow more time for engagement in the process, which will be commencing Monday the 25th of January and concluding on Monday the 29th of March. The recommendations are that the Council agrees the draft delivery agreement for consultation and that the draft agreement be subject of a 9-week consultation period. I move the report and the recommendations contained within. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. I understand that Councillor Andrew Whitcomb will second.
Yeah. Thank you for calling me, Madam Mayor. Yes, I'd second the motion and the report.
Thank you, Councillor Whitcomb. Having been moved and seconded, the debate is now in order. Members, if you have any comments, please indicate now using the hands up button. Please turn on your camera and microphone when called and lower your hand by clicking again on the hands up button when you have finished making your representations. Thank you, members. Okay, there's nobody who wants to speak to me. So again, I'll hand over to Mr. Tranter for the vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Time to vote again, members, please, to adopt the delivery agreement that is before you. So the voting will start now, please. Thank you. Voting appears to be going swimmingly well tonight, members. So 59 of you voted unanimously to adopt the delivery agreement. Any members have any problems, please?
Councillor Harding again, can't even put my hand up now.
Thank you, Councillor Harding. And do you support the delivery agreement?
I do.
Thank you. That will be noted. Any other members with problems, please?
Me too, Mr. Tranter. That's Roy Sorales.
Thank you, Councillor Sorales. And you support the
I do.
agreement?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That will be noted. There we are, Madam Mayor. It's unanimously approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Chanter. Moving on to item 11. This is the Caerphilly County Borough Council Local Development Plan Housing Delivery Statement. Councillor Sean Morgan, can you introduce the report, please?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. This report, which was considered by the Planning Committee on the 2nd of December, provided an update to members on recent changes to planning policy in respect of the housing supply and housing delivery. The report asked Planning Committee to consider the housing delivery statement and endorse the statement and its recommendation for consideration by this council, which the Planning Committee did. It's a statutory requirement that the council submits an annual monitoring report to Welsh Government that monitors the strategy and policies of the adopted local development plan. The last annual monitoring report was approved by Council on the 23rd of October 2019 and submitted to Welsh Government in accordance with the regulations. That report recognised the need to identify more land for employment and housing, to support local need and regional aspirations, and recommended that a review of the adopted LDP be commenced, which was the subject of the previous report. In July 2020, the Minister for Housing and Local Government wrote to local authorities in relation to planning and the post-COVID-19 recovery. The letter indicated that in light of the pandemic and the need to focus on plan preparation, there would be no requirement for an annual monitoring report to be submitted for this year. Whilst there was no requirement to submit the AMR for the 1920 monitoring year, it is considered that there is a need to prepare a housing delivery statement which addresses the matter of housing delivery and supply. This is particularly pertinent as there have been significant changes in national planning policy to the way that the amount of land available for housing is considered. It's now a national policy requirement to monitor the delivery of housing against a housing trajectory. This approach assesses how many dwellings have been built, both per annum and cumulatively, against the housing requirements set out in the adopted local development plan, and forecasts how many will realistically be delivered in the remaining years of the plan. The analysis of housing delivery against the housing trajectory indicates that there continues to be a shortfall in housing delivery. This report seeks council endorsement of the housing delivery statement, which explains the housing trajectory and sets out what proactive actions the council is taking to address the shortfall in housing. If approved by council, the housing delivery statement will be a consideration for the local planning authority in the determination of future planning applications. So the recommendations are that the council approves the housing delivery statement and its recommendations as the basis for informing future planning decisions by this planning authority. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. I understand that Councillor Lisa Phipps will second.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In seconding this report, I would like to state that the Council recognise that the number of houses built in the county in recent years has been below the average requirement. There are several reasons for this, including the economic crash and subsequent recession, which are not specific to Caerphilly. If approved this evening, the housing delivery statement will set out the Council's commitment to address the housing shortfall by using a range of mechanisms to increase the delivery of housing in the borough. This includes a council house building programme and the use of innovative housing funding to explore the use of modern methods of construction to deliver high quality, energy efficient, affordable homes for our local people. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Phipps. Having been moved and seconded, the debate is now in order. Members, if you have any comments, please indicate now using the hands up button. Please turn on your microphone when called and lower your hand by clicking again on the hands up button when you have finished making your representations. Thank you, members. Councillor Etheridge, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. could I ask the cabinet member, Councillor Morgan, on 5.6, it says about the number of dwellings, and it mentions a number of areas, Horton Meadows, which is, I assume, Horton Park, and it also mentions Pontlem Fife area. But as you all know, I'm much against building on greenfield sites, but it doesn't seem specific here, mentioning sort of brownfield sites or greenfield sites. Why I appreciate we must have a plan in place. Surely there shouldn't be more emphasis put on brownfield sites. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Morgan.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Etheridge. While this is about the amount of houses that need to be delivered and it's not site specific, I think that's more related to the replacement local development plan. I don't know if perhaps Rhian Kite would like to reply to Councillor Etheridge on that.
Yes, certainly, Councillor Morgan. Thank you very much. Yeah, paragraph 5.6 that you referred to, Councillor Etheridge, it merely reflects sites that have had the benefit of planning permission and which are factored into the housing trajectory by virtue of the fact they've got planning consent. So whilst some of those applications that are referenced are departure applications, that does reflect the fact that they've got planning permission and will come forward during the 5 years that we are considering for the trajectory. So that's why those sites are specifically referenced. With regards to brownfield, greenfield sites, obviously, council policy is to try and bring forward sites allocated for residential use in the adopted LDP in the first instance, but we have to react to planning applications that are submitted by developers as and when they are submitted, and we have to consider them on their merits through the local planning authority. And a number of the sites referenced on greenfield sites in paragraph 5.6 of the statement actually went on appeal. So it's just a matter of fact they have planning permission.
Thank you, Mrs. Kite. Councillor Etheridge, do you want to say anything else?
Just to ask Mrs. Kite, so it does include greenfield sites?
Yes, where they've got planning permission, Councillor Etheridge,
Okay.
that's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Are there any other comments? Doesn't appear to be, so I'll hand you over to Mr. Tranter for the vote. Thank you.
Thank you, members. So if you vote now on the report, please. Again, the voting poll will be on your screen or in chat, one or t'other. If you can vote now, please. Thank you. So, members, are there any others who have had any difficulties with voting, please?
Same for Councillor Harding. I vote for it.
Thank you.
And so do I. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Siralis. Okay, so with that, then the housing delivery statement is approved. There were 55 members for, 1 against, and 2 abstentions. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Tranter. Moving on to item 12, we have the Regional Technical Statement for South Wales Regional Aggregate Working Party second review. Councillor Sean Morgan, can I ask you to introduce the report, please?
Yes, thank you again, Madam Mayor. The Regional Technical Statement, this national planning policy requires a regional technical statement on aggregates to be produced at 5 yearly intervals. This review provides recommendations which guide future levels of provision of primary construction aggregates on a sub-regional and local authority basis. These are strategic in nature and do not offer site-specific information or guidance. National policy requires the relevant parts of this strategy to be incorporated into individual local development plans. If local authorities do not accept the recommendations in review, Welsh Government will consider its default powers to intervene in the planning process as a last resort. For Caerphilly Borough, the key issues arising from the review are first, the need to prepare a statement of sub-regional collaboration prior to any local development plan examination, as Caerphilly is grouped together with a number of authorities in the Cardiff City sub-region. Second, it states the preferred annual apportionment and a total apportionment over 25 years, which represents a surplus in permitted reserves. Third, the need for continued safeguarding of primary aggregate resources in the second replacement local development plan. And fourth, it shows shortfalls in provision in Cardiff and Rhondda and Taff, therefore potentially requiring new allocations within the sub-region. So the recommendations are that members endorse the regional technical statement second review as required by the Minerals Technical Advice Note 1 on aggregates. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan. Councillor Mike Adams, I understand that you were second.
That's correct, Madam Mayor. Again, very happy to second this. As Councillor Morgan said, if we don't do it, decision will be taken off our hands anyway. So just to hope that as much of the aggregates that we remove within Caerphilly is used in Caerphilly wherever possible. I second.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Having been moved and seconded, the debate is now in order. Members, if you have any comments, please indicate now using the hands up button. Please turn your camera and microphone on when called and lower your hand again by clicking the hands up button when you have finished making your representations. Thank you, members. Councillor Mann, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Adams just touched on the subject that I wanted to raise. Noted that it's such a democratic process that the Welsh Government can override local authorities at the end of the day. A lot of that happens in planning, doesn't it? As you mentioned earlier with Rhian Kite mentioned with the planning appeals for housing. I was wondering if there'd been many instances of councils being overruled in this particular situation with the aggregates. I don't know whether anyone has that information.
Councillor Morgan, or is there somebody else?
I certainly don't have that information, Madam Mayor, but I believe that Rhian Kite might, yeah.
Yes, thank you, Councillor.
That was my expectation, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Mann. Yeah, generally speaking, the regional technical statement in the past has always been agreed amongst local authorities. Generally speaking, it would be through the examination in the local development plan that matter would come to a head. So if we didn't agree amongst ourselves as a sub-region, it's potentially a soundness issue at the LDP examination. So really it's resolved through the examination process for the local development plans. So generally there's not an issue. The Welsh Government doesn't generally need to intervene because at a sub-regional level, you would usually work it out between you in terms of the supply and the demand. So it doesn't generally get used, the default powers by Welsh Government.
Thank you, Mrs. Kite. Councillor Mann, are you satisfied with that? Or?
Yes, ma'am. Obviously, if the shortfall in RCT in Cardiff is not resolved, that means that there may well be extra sites in our borough or somewhere else. So there are practical implications for that, for the shortfall in other places, aren't there? I don't know whether that is an up-to-date situation, when that's still being worked on or whatever.
If I can just come back on that, Madam Mayor, if you don't mind. The expectation is always that an authority meets its own requirement within its own area, but clearly you can only work a mineral if it's in your county borough. So for example, sand and gravel, and I used this example previously to Councillor Morgan when I was explaining, in Caerphilly, we've only got one tiny area of sand and gravel, and that's under Nelson Park. So we rely on other areas, and the Severn Estuary in particular, for our sand and gravel. So likewise, other areas will rely on other areas for minerals that don't appear in their geology. So there's a trade-off here in terms of what you can provide, and that's why it's done on a sub-regional basis, Cardiff Capital Regional basis, and then on a Wales basis, because you can only quarry the mineral where it exists, clearly.
Thank you, Mrs. Kite.
Okay, thanks very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mann. Councillor Priest, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's a secondary question, actually. Perhaps I'd ask Leanne if she can answer for me. Could you give me information on the actual outlets of our gravel and stone from the quarries? Is it true or not that these quarries are actually live all the time? It's only when they could be disused for 20, 30, 40 years, but their license can be brought in live at any time it is required. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Mrs. Kite, please.
There are different levels of category of quarries, Councillor Priest. So there's active, dormant, and extinguished quarries, for want of a better word. So yeah, there's certain categories that come back into being if they're not currently quarrying, if they comply with certain modern conditions, and there are others that we really should take prohibition orders out on, but we generally haven't done that to date because there are regulations that mean that the quarry operators could potentially get compensation. So as it stands at the moment, the quarries that we got active more than meet our demand. We got 58 years land supply, so it doesn't make commercial sense for the operators to bring the dormant sites back into beneficial use. They generally only obviously would do that if there was a demand and we couldn't meet our demand. So you're right in a sense that some old quarries can come back into being by virtue of their categorisation, and that's all outlined in the Appendix B to the Regional Technical Statement. And I don't know, Dave Lucas is on the call and he's a bit closer to this than me, so he might want to add something on that matter.
Mr. Lucas, please.
Yes, thanks, Chair. In respect to that one, you are correct in terms of the permissions in respect of mineral sites do last until they're actually formally closed. But in saying that, any site that has been dormant for a long period of time would need to have its conditions reviewed before it could reopen. So we would be subject of stringent review before any dormant site could come forward and start quarrying again.
Thank you both. Councillor Priest?
Yes, fine. Thank you for that answer. The reason I asked it was this, because I'm going back to early days of Islandborough Council, because Aberfach Quarry down in Chapel East in my ward in Abercarn had been shut for years and years, and there was hell to play. All of a sudden, in next to no time, we were having 30-ton wagons, near enough on the nod of the company that owned it. A lot of history behind it, Robert Evans and all that. I shan't go into that, but as already been stated, you had authority that wanted agro of a certain type, or they haven't got enough of what they do need. That's all I asked for. Anyway, thanks for that information. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Councillor Priest. Are there any further comments? No, I will hand over to Mr. Tranter for the vote then, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Members, you are voting on whether to endorse the regional technical statement before you. The vote is open now, please. Thank you, members. Before I formally record the vote, are there any members who had difficulty voting? If so,
again
please.
for Councillor Harding, I endorse it.
Thank you.
And me, Councillor Morales, yes, I endorse it as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, members. So, Madam Mayor, the regional technical statement is unanimously adopted, 59 votes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tranter. We'll move on to item 13, which is the Public Services Ombudsman for Wales Annual Letter 2019 to 2020. Councillor Colin Gordon, please introduce the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Members are asked to note the content of the annual letter for 2019-20 from the Public Services Ombudsman for Wales. The Ombudsman issues an annual letter to each local authority in Wales which sets out a summary of all complaints received and investigated by the office during 1920, specifically relating to that authority. The annual letter issued in respect of Caerphilly is attached as Appendix 1 to this report. For the Council, the overall number of complaints referred to the Ombudsman this year has been decreased compared to last year from 65 to 49. In respect of Code of Conduct complaints, all 10 complaints were closed after initial consideration. There were no complaints received in respect of town and community councils within the county borough. Finally, members will note that the Ombudsman has been working with local authorities in his complaint standards role. Complaints officers from all authorities have engaged with Ombudsman Office, and for the first time in 1920, officers submitted quality data about the complaints handled, which reveals more about the complaints landscape in Wales. Complaints officers from the Council have also engaged with Ombudsman Complaint Standard officers to assess training for staff, which commenced in October and will continue in February. It is recommended that the report is noted. I move the report. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Gordon. Councillor Walter Williams, I understand you will second it.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I second the motion and the report. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. As the debate is in order, members, if you have any comments on the annual letter, please indicate now using the hands up button. Once again, once you only turn your microphones and cameras on when you're called, and lower your hands up using the hands up button. Sorry, that came out wrong. Is there anybody who wants to make a comment? Councillor Cushing, please.
Yeah, just a quick comment on the letter. No reflection, obviously, on Councillor David Poole, but obviously he's no longer council leader, so I think perhaps we need to get hold of the Ombudsman and change the details. Just a comment.
I'm informed that's been done, Councillor Cushing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments? No, thank you. Members, this report is for noting only, so it is so noted. Moving on to item 14. This is the Independent Remuneration Panel for Wales Supplementary Report on the Principles in Respect of the Reimbursement of Costs of Care. Councillor Colin Gordon, please introduce the report.
Thank you again, Madam Mayor. This report informs Council of a supplementary report published by the Independent Remuneration Panel for Wales in May last year on the principles related to the reimbursement of costs for care. The supplementary report is attached at Appendix 1 and sets out a number of principles which the IRP expects all local authorities to adopt as a minimum requirement, with the aim of assisting those councillors and co-opted members with caring responsibilities. These principles are key to ensure that all members and co-opted members have access to the reimbursements of costs for care now and in the future. The supplementary report was considered at a meeting at the Democratic Services Committee in November, who unanimously noted and supported the principles set out in the supplementary report. Members will note that paragraph 5.1.8 of the report outlines the 7 principles, the process already in place to promote take-up of the provision, and the steps which can be taken to clarify and improve these processes. The report asks Council to endorse the following recommendations. To endorse and implement the principles set out within the supplementary report attached to Appendix 1, and to authorise the Head of Democratic Services to update the members' schedule of remuneration to reflect the provisions of the supplementary report as necessary in consultation with the Chair and Vice Chair of the Democratic Services Committee. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Gordon. Councillor Adrian Hussey, I understand you were second.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. More than happy to second Councillor Gordon's report. Thank you.
Thank you. Having been moved and seconded, the debate is in order. Members, if you have any comments, please indicate now using the hands up button. Please turn your camera and microphone on when called and lower your hand by clicking again on the hands up button when you have finished making your representations. Thank you, members. Councillor Mann, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is a far better system now than when it was first introduced, where there were very little checks or controls on it. But I'm just wondering, Mayor, and I apologize if I've missed this, whether the panel has looked at implications for the new ways that we're all having to work at the moment. Obviously, that might have implications for childcare or any other care and the way it is provided.
Madam Mayor, Lisa Lane is on the call. Perhaps she can give some clarification to Councillor Mann.
Thank you, Councillor Gordon. Mrs. Lane, please.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Mann. The Independent Remuneration Panel will be issuing their annual report in February this year. Obviously, they appreciate the different ways of working now for members in the past year, and any reimbursement of costs of care would obviously be reflected in the forthcoming report or in any claims made by any members for that particular reimbursement.
Okay, diolch yn fawr.
Thank you both. Are there any other comments? No, thank you. I will hand you over to Mr. Tranter for the vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So, members, the vote is now open on whether to adopt the new system for reimbursement of care. The vote's open. Thank you. Okay, members. Any members having any difficulties? I anticipate Councillors Sorrells and Harding, maybe.
Yeah, Councillor Harding Dobbs.
Thank you.
My computer decided to befriend me on this occasion, and it's given me the opportunity to vote. Thank you very much, Mr. Tranter.
That's good news, Councillor Sorrells. Good news.
Right at the end, yes.
Thank you. Got to be one, haven't it?
Madam Mayor, the report is unanimously adopted. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tranter. Moving on to item 15, car parking charges. Members, the Constitution requires that any decision taken by Cabinet as a matter of urgency must be reported to the next available meeting of Council, given the reasons for its urgency. Councillor John Ridgewell, I understand that you will move the report.
Forgive me, Madam Mayor, my mic wasn't on. Yes, thank you very much, Madam Mayor. This report is an information item, and members will recall this car parking task and finish group was first established back in 2019 with the brief to examine car parking arrangements across the county borough. A complex and wide-ranging topic at the best of times, but with world events overtaking us all as the COVID pandemic swept the globe, our focus had to change to deal with the crises. By late November 2020, it had become clear there would be a timing gap between when the existing town centre free parking arrangements would have ceased and when the findings of the task and finish group could come to scrutiny. The pre-Christmas COVID firebreak added further urgency to the decision-making process, and Conscious of the need to give as much support and certainty as possible to businesses within our town centres, Cabinet decided to take action straight away. And leapfrogging the report's progress through scrutiny, approval was given for the continuation of the town centre COVID free parking arrangements until March the 31st, 2021. At the same time, as we are all aware, the impact of COVID has been devastating in human terms, devastating financially, but also devastating for people's health and well-being as well. Throughout last year and still, access to open green space has been widely acknowledged as one of the few escapes available. And being able to visit our many amazing country parks has played a huge role in helping people cope with the pressures and restrictions that COVID has imposed on all of us. Acknowledging this, Cabinet at the same time also agreed to take away parking charges at our country parks, and there are no plans for these to be reinstated. Scrutiny has agreed these and all the proposed new measures as set out in the report, and now it only leaves me to thank the members of the Task and Finish group and the tireless efforts of one Kath Forbes-Thompson, our scrutiny manager, for the huge amount of work they all undertook in reaching the conclusions they have. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ridgewell. Councillor Tudor Davis, I understand you will second the report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to endorse Councillor Ridgewell's thanks for the Task and Finish group for the work that they've done. I second the motion and the report.
Thank you, Councillor Davis. Having been moved and seconded, the debate is in order. Members, if you have any comments, please indicate now using the hands up button. Please turn your camera and microphone on when called and lower your hand by clicking again on the hands up button when you finish making your representations. Thank you, members. Councillor Matton, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to echo the thanks to the other two members to the Task and Finish group, which I believe was ably chaired by my ward colleague, Councillor Gough. Certainly a step in the right direction. There are a couple of local issues which my members are aware of, which I believe they'll be raising with officers outside this particular meeting. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Mann. Councillor Fussell, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Mann probably preempted what I was going to not say, but I am going to say. Thank you for the Task and Finish group and for the allowing of the free car parking. It does have a little bit of a double-edged sword, however, in specific car parks, I would suggest. The facility for these car parks to allow for free parking, but for a limited time, could be beneficial more so for the town centres that we are trying to assist with this free parking. There are town car parks within Blackwood, possibly Bargoed, certainly within Caerphilly, that by 9:05 in the morning, they're full, and they're full all day. It's predominantly because the free parking is being taken up by not so much shoppers, but by others that might be finding it convenient that they can park there, go to work, and simply be within 2 seconds walk of their premises. I understand that the machines that we have already have the capacity to issue time-limited free tickets, and perhaps that should have been considered by the Task and Finish group whilst they were doing their initial findings. And I'm aware also that new ticket machines have or are due to be ordered. They haven't been ordered as yet and are to be installed, which are contactless. But again, these may not have a remote facility to alter the time, the actual way the tickets are issued. In other words, if we are wanting to have free tickets available over a Christmas period, there has to be a work commissioned well in advance, 6 weeks or more, whereas perhaps having something more remote to change the units to allow that to happen might be something worth investing in. I appreciate this is a report for noting. I applaud it in its sort of ethos, but I think sometimes we need to think a bit more smarter in terms of how we can benefit our town centres. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
If I could respond, Madam
Mayor. Yeah, I was
yes.
just going to come to you, Councillor Ridgewell. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Fussell, for your points, and valid they are. Essentially, the technical side of this, as you will appreciate, is beyond my remit. Whilst these new machines are coming in, it may be better if one of the officers can answer the questions that you've posed. And I suggest that perhaps Mr. Williams might be able to shed some light on and give you some answers that you need.
Thank you, Councillor Ridgewell. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Actually, the machines were, the order was placed for the machines today, so they have actually been ordered. I don't know in terms of the capability of you know, altering little things like 1 hour free or you know, free over Christmas. But I can come back to you, Councillor Fussell, on that query if you like.
That would be good. I think we probably, if we're making this investment, then get the best out of it that we can. And flexibility is probably, given our jumping from one lockdown to another, which we hope won't be happening as often as it has. It'll only be at certain festive periods that we'd adopt it. But I'll await that further information. Thank you, Mr. Williams.
No problem.
Thank you all. Councillor Etheridge, please.
Thank you. I got a question to the Cabinet member, please, Councillor Ridgewell. First of all, I'd like to congratulate the Cabinet on their decision in regard free parking charges, which was welcomed by the traders and the local businesses in Blackwood. And I'd like to ask Councillor Ridgewell if he'll give us perhaps he could give us a guarantee, or he would look at positively for small businesses and traders that we extend it until the end of June, because it has certainly paid dividends in Blackwood for the traders and the shoppers. And I like to ask the Cabinet if they will consider that positively in the near future. Thank you.
Councillor Ridgewell, please.
Yeah, thanks for your question, Councillor Etheridge. I'm glad that you and I are aware that the importance of what we've done, and it's pleasing to note that you've also had feedback from businesses in town that they appreciate what we've done. Clearly, the situation is still very, very unclear as far as the future is going to be concerned, and it's going to be very difficult to make any assessments at this stage on how things are going to pan out over the next few days, let alone weeks and months. Certainly the fact that the free parking is going to continue right through until the end of the financial year, that, as I said, that the 31st of March is welcome, and should circumstances change, then clearly we'd be in a position to want to review that. It'll be a review date anyway, and I can only anticipate that decisions will be taken at that time as to the best way of moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ridgewell. Is that satisfactory, Councillor Etheridge?
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Gough, you had your hand up, but you've disappeared off my screen. Did you want to ask something?
Sorry, Madam Mayor. As I chaired the Task and Finish group, I was trying to come in before the hordes had jumped on the bandwagon. But just to reinforce the comments that John made there, Kath Ford Thompson did a brilliant job, because this wasn't just a short Task and Finish group. As John said, it started in 2019. The structure or the make of the committee changed, so people needed to be brought up to speed. And some of the things that James mentioned was discussed by the Task and Finish group. Some of the recommendations made by the Task and Finish group were deferred by Cabinet and by scrutiny to be discussed at a later date when the current problem's over, and which would allow us to have a more in-depth look at how our car parks function, particularly in town centres. So it's not dead and buried. Like I say, once we get a view on where this COVID-19 thing is going to finish, then there is talk of the Task or a Task and Finish group being reformed to relook at some of the other issues that were raised.
Thank you, Councillor Gough. Are there any further comments, please? No? So we, as members, are asked to note the report, the decision of Cabinet and the reasons for its urgency. So noted. Thank you. Members, we have reached the conclusion of our meeting. I would like to thank everyone for attending this evening's meeting of Council. I declare the meeting closed and you may now hang up. Thank you and good night.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Good night all.
Thank you. Good night, all.